Picture this. It is a Thursday morning. You are in the elevator at work, and your coworker Marcus gets in on the second floor. Same company as you, probably a similar salary. He is wearing a plain navy shirt, carrying a coffee he made at home, and he has not said a single word about money in the 3 years you have worked together. Not his rent, not his car payment, not his credit card, nothing. You have shared a floor with this man for 3 years, and you know almost nothing about his financial life. 2 weeks later, you find out, completely by accident, that Marcus just bought a second property, not financed, cash, and you are standing there replaying every conversation you ever had with him, trying to find the clue you missed. My name is Luke, and I spend way too much time thinking about the gap between what people look like financially and what they actually are. Because here is what nobody tells you. In America, the people performing wealth the loudest are almost always the most fragile. And the people quietly building it look exactly like Marcus. If you cannot tell the difference, you will spend the next decade copying the wrong person. Hit subscribe and let us fix that. Sign 1. They never talk about money at work. Pay close attention to this one because it sounds backwards at first. The people at your job who are genuinely doing well financially almost never bring it up. No mortgage complaints, no car payment mentions, no "I can't afford that," no "I just bought this." Nothing. Compare that to the colleague who narrates every purchase, every upgrade, every financial frustration out loud. That narration is almost always the sound of someone who needs external validation because the internal numbers are not adding up. Truly wealthy people learned early that talking about money creates problems and solves none. So they stopped. If Marcus has never once complained about a bill in 3 years of sitting 20 feet from you, that silence is not nothing. That silence is data. Sign 2. Their car is aggressively unremarkable. The #1 car brand among American millionaires is Toyota. Number 2 is Honda. Number 3 is Ford. This comes from a national study of over 10,000 actual 7-figure households. Researcher Thomas Stanley spent 40 years studying the wealthy and found that 86% of luxury vehicles in this country are driven by people who are not millionaires. Read that again. 86%. So the next time a brand new leased BMW pulls into your office parking lot, the statistically correct emotional response is mild concern, not envy. Marcus bought his Camry in 2017, plans to drive it until 2030, and has never once mentioned wanting anything different. That is not someone who cannot afford an upgrade. That is someone who decided that $800 a month in car payments is a strange trade for the feeling of impressing strangers at a red light. Sign 3. They ask more questions than they answer. There is a concept in behavioral economics called counter-signaling. When you actually have status, advertising it becomes redundant. The people in the middle of the wealth distribution signal the hardest because they need outsiders to perceive a status they have not fully secured yet. The genuinely wealthy coworker turns every conversation back to you. They ask what you think, where you see things going, what you are working on. They volunteer almost nothing about themselves. If you have ever walked away from a conversation with a coworker knowing everything about yourself and almost nothing about them, there is a very real chance that person is the wealthiest one in the room. Real money does not introduce itself. It genuinely cannot be bothered. Sign 4. They are completely unbothered by office chaos. Financial stress is one of the single biggest drivers of irritability, anxiety, and reactive behavior at work. When you are worried about money, small provocations feel enormous. When you are not, they simply do not register. Marcus is the person who shrugs at reorgs, stays calm during budget cuts, and never seems rattled by whatever crisis is circulating on the 3rd floor. He is not emotionally unavailable. He is financially insulated. He has enough runway that the politics of this particular job do not feel like a survival situation. Watch who stays genuinely calm when things get uncertain at work. That is almost always the person with options. And options are just another word for money you have not spent yet. Sign 5. They have never mentioned debt. Not once. People in financial distress talk about their financial distress, usually framed as frustration, as shared complaint, as commiseration. The car payment that is killing them, the credit card rate that went up, the student loan they are still somehow carrying, these are the conversational currencies of people being squeezed. Marcus has never once participated in that conversation. No car payment story, no refinancing update, no credit card rate complaint. He is not hiding. He is simply not carrying those things. No debt means no debt conversation. It is exactly that direct. And when you realize you have never heard someone mention a single financial obligation in 3 years of working together, that absence starts to feel like something. Sign 6. They have zero anxiety about being laid off. Here is the number that should make you stop for a second. According to Federal Reserve data, roughly 40% of Americans cannot cover an unexpected $400 expense without borrowing money or selling something. 40%. Which means nearly half the people in your office are one bad quarter away from a real emergency. So watch carefully the next time your company announces restructuring. Some people go pale. Some start quietly updating their LinkedIn that same afternoon. And then there is Marcus, who seems genuinely unbothered, not in denial, just calm. That calm does not come from arrogance. It comes from having enough saved that a layoff is an inconvenience, not a catastrophe. The person with 6 months of expenses saved and a paid-off car experiences a layoff as a sabbatical. The person without that buffer experiences it as a crisis. Marcus already decided which one he was going to be. He made that decision years ago, quietly, while everyone else was upgrading their lifestyle. Before we get to the next one, I want you to do something. Think about the people you work with every day. Go through them one by one. How many of these signs have you already matched to someone specific? Hold that person in your mind because the next 7 signs are where it gets really interesting. Sign 7. They take the full vacation and actually disappear. Watch who genuinely disconnects. Not who posts vacation content, but who actually goes dark for 10 days, does not check email, and comes back without a visible emergency waiting for them. People with financial anxiety rarely fully disengage from work because work is the structure standing between them and collapse. Marcus books his trips months in advance, takes every single day of his PTO, and comes back looking like a person who actually slept. That is not a personality type. That is the specific behavior of someone who built enough of a financial cushion that stepping away from the machine for 2 weeks does not feel like gambling with his future. Sign 8. Their lifestyle has not changed as their income grew. Most people, when their income increases, increase their lifestyle to match almost immediately. New apartment, new car, new wardrobe. It is so automatic most people do not even notice they are doing it. Marcus got promoted 2 years ago. You know, because HR sent the announcement. His car is the same, his lunch is the same. His general daily behavior is completely unchanged. That gap between income growth and lifestyle growth is where wealth actually accumulates. It is not glamorous. It does not photograph well, but it is the entire mechanism. Every raise Marcus ever received went somewhere invisible instead of somewhere visible. That invisible somewhere is now a rental property. Sign 9. They dressed the same 3 years ago as they do today. Half of American millionaires have never paid more than $400 for a suit in their entire lives. The quietly wealthy coworker is not wearing visible logos, not chasing the seasonal update, not announcing a new watch. What they wear is clean, fits well, and communicates nothing in particular. Marcus dressed the same way the first week you met him as he does right now. That consistency is not a lack of taste. It is the behavior of someone who separated their identity from their appearance a long time ago and never looked back. The loudest outfits in your office are almost certainly covering the thinnest margins. Sign 10. They have a second income nobody at work knows about. Research on high net worth individuals consistently shows that the genuinely wealthy almost always have multiple income streams running quietly in the background. A rental property, a dividend portfolio, a side business their employer does not need to know about. Marcus has options. He could resign tomorrow without panic. He could take 3 months off without flinching. That calm is almost never just a high salary story. There is something else running, and he has zero interest in telling you what it is, because the second he tells you, it becomes a topic of conversation. And he did not build it by talking about it. Sign 11. They give without making it a moment. This one requires patience to spot. Marcus picks up the tab occasionally and moves on without acknowledging it happened. He contributes to the office fundraiser without sending a follow-up about it. He helps a colleague without positioning it as a favor to be recalled later. Generosity that needs an audience is almost always insecurity performing as generosity. Generosity that disappears quietly is something else entirely. People who are genuinely comfortable financially tend to give without the transaction attached. It is one of the cleanest signals on this list precisely because it is so easy to miss. Sign 12. They are never visibly impressed by other people's money. New car in the parking lot. Someone got a big signing bonus. A colleague just listed their house for twice what they paid. Marcus hears all of it and feels nothing you can detect. No jealousy, no admiration, no competitive urgency. Just a quiet nod and back to whatever he was doing. That reaction, or the absence of one, is one of the most telling signals on the entire list. People who are genuinely building wealth stop being triggered by other people's financial theater long before everyone else does, because they already understand what the theater costs, and they already decided they are not paying for a ticket. Sign 13. They seem to have already made a decision the rest of the office has not. This is the hardest one to define and the easiest to feel. Marcus moves through the building like someone who has quietly made peace with something nobody else knows about yet. Not arrogant, not superior, just settled, like this job is a choice he is making rather than a trap he is stuck in. That specific energy is not a personality trait. It is what financial security actually feels like from the outside when you are standing next to it without knowing what you are looking at. He shows up every day because he wants to, not because he has to. Tomorrow, walk through your office and actually look around. The person with the nicest car in the lot and the loudest lunch order is probably one missed bonus away from a difficult conversation with their bank. And Marcus, the one in the corner with the same Camry and the coffee from home, might be 3 years from walking out the front door and never coming back. The whole point of building wealth quietly is staying quiet about it. Because the second you start performing it, you start spending it. And the second you spend it to prove you have it, you do not have it anymore. If this hits, subscribe so you do not miss what comes next. Drop a comment telling me which sign you recognized in someone at your job. I read every single one.